As the sun rose over the quiet town of Moonrock, its residents began to stir, starting their daily routines like clockwork, just as they had done every day for the past 76 years. Children filed into the eerily empty classrooms, parents dragged themselves to their dreary offices, and the stray deserters wandered aimlessly through the abandoned streets. But today there was something different in the air. A strange energy pulsed through the town, making even the most oblivious residents glance over their shoulders with unease. Little did they know, today would be the day that everything changed. Xenia walked alone down a deserted alleyway, her mind racing with jumbled thoughts and fragmented memories. As one of the mysterious deserters, Xenia was cursed to wander Moonrock for eternity, unable to communicate with the other lost souls that drifted silently beside her. But unlike the others, Xenia knew the truth about Moonrock's twisted past, and she was determined to find a way to break the cycle, no matter the cost. As she turned a corner, Xenia froze. There, sitting on a crumbling stone wall, was a small black cat with piercing yellow eyes. The creature stared at Xenia intently, its gaze seeming to bore straight into her soul. Xenia blinked, and in an instant, the cat was gone. Heart pounding, Xenia quickened her pace, her mind reeling. She had seen that cat before, always watching her from the shadows. But what did it want? Was it a sign, a warning, or something more sinister? Xenia shook her head, trying to clear away the unsettling thoughts. She had more important things to worry about, like finding a way to break Moonrock's curse and free its trapped inhabitants. But as she walked on, Xenia couldn't shake the feeling that the mysterious black cat was somehow connected to it all. Miles away, in one of Moonrock's lifeless classrooms, a young girl named Lila sat perfectly still, her eyes fixed straight ahead as the withered old teacher droned on, reading from the dusty book perched on the windowsill. Like all the other children, Lila wore a blank expression, her mind empty and numb. But as the teacher turned a page, something strange happened. A gust of wind blew through the room, rustling the pages of the ancient book. And for just a moment, Lila felt a spark of something ignite deep within her. A flicker of curiosity, a flash of awareness. Lila blinked, her eyes widening slightly as she stared at the hypnotic swirls of dust dancing in the shaft of gray light filtering in from the dark window. For the first time in her life, Lila felt truly awake. Like a veil had been lifted from her eyes, allowing her to see the world as it really was. But the moment was short-lived. The teacher snapped the book shut, her milky eyes narrowing as she scanned the room suspiciously. Lila quickly looked down, her heart racing as she fought to keep her face neutral. She knew that any sign of independent thought or emotion was strictly forbidden in Moonrock, and the punishments for disobedience were severe. As the teacher ushered the children out of the room for their daily break, Lila's mind spun with a whirlwind of new thoughts and feelings. Something had changed within her, and she knew that there was no going back. In the gloomy cafeteria, Lila sipped the chalky chemical drink in silence, her eyes darting nervously around the room. She felt like an outsider now, different from the other children who sat motionless, their gazes vacant. Suddenly, Lila spotted something across the room that made her heart skip a beat. There, sitting on a high shelf, was a small black cat with glowing yellow eyes. The creature stared directly at Lila, its tail twitching slightly. Lila gasped, the cup slipping from her fingers and clattering to the floor. By the time she looked back up, the cat had vanished. But Lila knew that it hadn't been a figment of her imagination. The cat was real, and somehow, she sensed that it was trying to tell her something. As Lila followed the other children back to the classroom, her mind churned with questions. Who was the mysterious black cat? What was it trying to communicate to her? And most importantly, what did it all have to do with the dark secrets lurking beneath the surface of Moonrock? In the sunless offices in the heart of Moonrock, Marcus stared blankly at the papers scattered across his unstable desk, his hand aching as he scribbled down the incomprehensible whispers echoing in his skull. Like all the other adult workers, Marcus spent his days mindlessly transcribing the thoughts he wasn't allowed to voice. But as he reached for another crumpled piece of paper, something strange caught his eye. In the margins of the sheet, scrawled in handwriting that was undeniably his own, were two words, "Wake up." Marcus blinked, his brow furrowing in confusion. He had no memory of writing those words. In fact, he had no memory of anything outside of the daily monotony of his dreary existence. As Marcus stared at the mysterious message, a sudden gust of wind whistled through the office, scattering the papers from his desk. Marcus scrambled to gather them, his heart pounding as he scanned each page for more hidden words. But the papers were blank, just like they always were at the end of the day. Marcus sank back into his chair, his head spinning. Was he losing his mind? Or was there something more to the strange occurrence? Just then, Marcus heard a soft mewling sound from behind him. He spun around, his eyes widening as he spotted a small black cat perched on the windowsill, its yellow eyes glinting in the dim light. Marcus stared at the creature, his mouth hanging open in shock. In all his years in Moonrock, he had never seen a living animal besides the howling pets left behind in the empty houses. And yet, here was this mysterious cat, watching him with an intelligence that seemed almost human. As Marcus watched, the cat leaped down from the windowsill and padded silently out of the room. Heart racing, Marcus rose from his chair and followed, his legs moving of their own accord. He chased the cat through the winding hallways of the office building, ignoring the blank stares of his coworkers as he passed. The cat seemed to be leading him somewhere, always staying just out of reach. Finally, the cat darted through a small door that Marcus had never noticed before. Taking a deep breath, Marcus followed, stepping into a dimly lit room filled with rows of dusty filing cabinets. The cat was nowhere to be seen, but as Marcus scanned the room, his eyes fell on a single open drawer. Inside, he spotted a faded photograph of a group of people standing in front of a building he didn't recognize. And in the center of the group, staring directly at the camera, was a young woman with piercing eyes and a determined expression. Marcus picked up the photograph, his hand trembling slightly. He didn't know who the woman was, but he sensed that she was important somehow, that she held the key to unlocking the mysteries of Moonrock. Suddenly, Marcus heard footsteps approaching from outside the room. Heart pounding, he quickly tucked the photograph into his pocket and slipped out of the room, his mind racing with new questions and possibilities. As he made his way back to his desk, Marcus knew that his life would never be the same. The strange message, the mysterious cat, the hidden photograph, they were all pieces of a puzzle that he was determined to solve. And somehow, he sensed that the young woman in the picture was at the center of it all. As night fell over Moonrock, the houses shut out the world, the doors and windows vanishing into nothingness. Inside, the families gathered on the floor, sipping the same bland chemical drink as their pets, everyone lost in their own thoughts. In one such house, a young boy named Ethan lay awake on his plain mattress, his eyes fixed on the ceiling as he listened to the ragged breathing of the monsters lurking beneath his bed. Every night, Ethan prayed for the light to return quickly, to banish the horrors that haunted his dreams. But tonight, something was different. As the room plunged into complete darkness, Ethan heard a soft scratching sound coming from the far corner. Heart pounding, he slowly turned his head, his eyes straining to see through the inky blackness. And there, perched on the edge of his dresser, was a small black cat with glowing yellow eyes. Ethan's breath caught in his throat. He had never seen a cat in Moonrock before, let alone one that could appear and disappear at will. But as he stared at the creature, Ethan felt a strange sense of calm wash over him. The cat stared back at Ethan, its eyes seeming to hold a message that he couldn't quite grasp. Then, with a flick of its tail, the cat leaped down from the dresser and padded silently towards the door. Ethan watched in amazement as the cat slipped through the solid wood like a ghost, vanishing into the hallway beyond. Heart racing, Ethan slid out of bed and followed, his bare feet padding softly on the cold floor. He found the cat waiting for him at the top of the stairs, its eyes glinting in the dim light. As Ethan approached, the cat turned and bounded down the steps, leading him into the darkened living room. There, huddled on the floor, were Ethan's parents, their faces drawn and haggard as they stared blankly into space. Ethan's heart ached at the sight of them, so broken and lost. But as he watched, The black cat padded over to his mother and gently nuzzled her hand. To Ethan's amazement, his mother blinked, her eyes focusing on the cat as if seeing it for the first time. Slowly, she reached out and stroked the cat's soft fur, a faint smile tugging at the corners of her mouth. Ethan's father turned to look at her, his expression one of confusion and wonder. And then, for the first time in Ethan's memory, his parents turned to each other, their hands clasping together in a gesture of silent understanding. Ethan watched in awe, hardly daring to breathe. He knew that something momentous had just happened, something that would change everything. And as the black cat slipped silently out of the room, Ethan knew that he had to follow. He had to find out the truth about Moonrock and the role that the mysterious feline played in it all. Heart pounding, Ethan crept out of the house and into the empty streets, the black cat always just ahead of him, leading him onwards into the unknown. Xenia huddled in the shadows of an abandoned alleyway, her eyes fixed on the deserted street ahead. She had been following the mysterious black cat for hours, watching as it appeared and disappeared like a ghost, always just out of reach. But now, as the first rays of dawn began to peek over the horizon, Xenia sensed that the end was near. The cat had led her to the outskirts of Moonrock, to a crumbling stone wall that marked the edge of the town. And there, waiting for her in the early morning light, were three other figures that Xenia had never seen before. A young girl with wide, curious eyes, a man with a haunted expression and a photograph clutched in his hand, and a boy with tousled hair and a determined set to his jaw. Xenia approached cautiously, her heart racing. She knew that these people were important somehow, that they held the key to unlocking the secrets of Moonrock. As she drew closer, the black cat appeared on the wall beside them, its yellow eyes glinting in the pale light. The cat stared at Xenia, its gaze seeming to bore into her soul. And then, to Xenia's amazement, the cat opened its mouth and spoke. "Welcome, Xenia," the cat said, its voice soft and melodic. "We've been waiting for you." Xenia gasped, her eyes widening in shock. She had always known that the cat was special, but she had never imagined that it could talk. "Who are you?" Xenia asked, her voice trembling slightly. "What do you want with us?" The cat smiled, its eyes twinkling with mischief. "I am the guardian of Moonrock," it said. "I have been watching over this town for centuries, waiting for the right moment to intervene." The cat turned to the others, its gaze softening. "You have all been chosen," it said. "Each of you holds a piece of the puzzle that will unlock the secrets of Moonrock and break the curse that has trapped its inhabitants for so long." The man with the photograph stepped forward, his hand shaking slightly as he held out the faded image. "I found this in a hidden room," he said. "I think it's important somehow." The cat nodded, its tail twitching slightly. "You are correct, Marcus," it said. "That photograph holds the key to understanding what happened to Moonrock 76 years ago." The young girl spoke up, her voice trembling with excitement. "I saw you in the cafeteria," she said to the cat. "You were trying to tell me something, weren't you?" The cat smiled. "Yes, Lila," it said. "You have a special gift. You were able to break free from the numbness that has trapped the other children for so long. You are the one who will lead them to freedom." The boy with the tousled hair stepped forward, his eyes shining with determination. "I followed you here," he said to the cat. "I knew that you were important somehow, that you could help us." The cat nodded. "You are brave, Ethan," it said. "You have the courage to face the monsters that lurk in the darkness. You will be the one to lead the way." Xenia felt a surge of hope rising within her. For so long, she had wandered the streets of Moonrock alone, unable to communicate with anyone, unable to change anything. But now, standing here with these strangers, she felt a sense of purpose that she had never known before. "What do we do now?" Xenia asked, her voice steady and strong. The cat smiled, its eyes glinting with promise. "Now," it said, "we begin." As one, the four chosen ones turned to face the rising sun, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. They knew that the road would be long and difficult, that they would have to confront the darkest secrets of Moonrock's past. But they also knew that they were not alone. They had each other, and they had the mysterious black cat, the guardian of Moonrock, to guide them along the way. And so, with hearts full of hope and determination, Xenya, Marcus, Lila, and Ethan set out on their journey to unravel the mysteries of Moonrock and free its trapped inhabitants once and for all. The black cat watched them go, its eyes shining with pride and satisfaction. It knew that the chosen ones had a long and difficult road ahead of them, but it also knew that they had the strength and courage to see it through to the end. And as the sun rose higher in the sky, bathing the town of Moonrock in its warm, golden light, the black cat vanished into the shadows once more, its work done for now. But it would be back, always watching, always waiting, ready to lend a helping hand whenever the chosen ones needed it most. For that was the role of the guardian of Moonrock, to guide and protect those who dared to break free from the curse and seek the truth, no matter how dark and terrifying it might be.